Rex Stanham had worked for the Galactic Trade Consortium for over 40 standard cycles. He had analyzed the economic patterns of 372 species across 9 spiral arms. He had predicted market collapses before they happened. He had written the standard formulas that every junior analyst learned in their first rotation. His accuracy rating stood at 98.7%, a record that no other analyst in consortium history had ever matched. But humans were breaking him. He stared at the holographic display floating above his desk, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as they tried to process the data streams. The numbers made no sense. They had never made sense, not since humans had joined the galactic community 17 cycles ago. Senior Analyst Rex Stanham, said a nervous voice from behind him. The Council is requesting your preliminary report on human market integration. Rex Stanham did not turn around. He continued staring at the display, watching the chaotic dance of human economic indicators. Tell them I need more time. You said that last quarter, Senior Analyst, and I'm saying it again. The junior analyst hesitated at the doorway. They are growing impatient. Some council members are suggesting that perhaps a different team should take over the human analysis project. That finally made Rex Stanham turn. His crystalline skin flickered with shades of irritation. Let them try. Let any analyst in this entire facility try to make sense of what these creatures are doing. I will personally pay for their psychological recovery treatments. The junior analyst fled. Rex Stanham returned to his display and pulled up the most recent contradiction that had kept him awake for 3 consecutive rest cycles. A human company called GameStop had experienced a valuation increase of 4,000% in a single trading week. The company sold physical copies of entertainment software, a business model that every rational economic theory declared obsolete. Their fundamental value indicators suggested they should have collapsed into bankruptcy 2 years prior. Instead, their stock had exploded because a large group of humans on a primitive social network had decided it would be funny. They had moved billions of credits because they thought it would be funny. Rex Stanham pulled up another file. During a global medical emergency, when all logical behavior patterns predicted maximum economic contraction and resource hoarding, human consumer spending on non-essential goods had actually increased. They had purchased exercise equipment they never used. They had bought bread-making machines, even though bread was readily available at every food distribution point. They had adopted millions of companion animals despite the additional resource drain this created. His colleague Yenna Saul entered the office without announcing herself, which told Rex Stanham exactly how concerned she was. The Maloxian economist settled her bulk into the seating frame across from his desk and let out a long, whistling sigh. The Central Bank of Human Territories just announced they are raising and lowering interest rates simultaneously, she said. Rex Stanham felt his secondary heart skip a beat. That is not possible. They are doing it through different institutional mechanisms. One entity raises while another lowers. The net effect is theoretically zero, but human markets are responding as if both actions are happening independently. Which response are they showing? Contraction or expansion? Both. Rex Stanham was silent for a long moment. I need a drink. I brought 2 bottles of Centauri Mind Soother. I anticipated this conversation. They drank in silence for several minutes, watching the incomprehensible data streams flow across the display. Finally, Yenna Saul spoke again. I have been reviewing human economic history, trying to find the origin point of this madness. Do you know what I discovered? Please, enlighten me. They invented their primary economic theories before they understood their own psychology. They built mathematical models based on the assumption that individuals would always act in their own rational self-interest. They called this theoretical creature Homo economicus, the economic human, a reasonable foundation. Except they knew it was wrong. They published the theories while simultaneously publishing research proving that actual humans almost never behave this way. They taught these theories in their educational institutions for centuries, while their own experimental evidence contradicted every core assumption. Rex Tandem felt a headache forming behind his upper left eye. Why would they do that? Because the math was elegant. The math was wrong. Yes, but it was elegantly wrong, and apparently that matters to them. The door chimed and admitted senior council member Drex Vaughn, whose presence immediately made both analysts straighten in their seats. The council member's ancient carapace was decorated with the ceremonial markings of 17 successful economic integration projects. He had guided the consortium through the incorporation of the Vellani Collective, the marsh kingdoms of Telos, and the notoriously unpredictable swarm mines of Sector 9. "I am here for answers," Drex Vaughn said without preamble. "The Trade Council is preparing to negotiate the new commerce treaties with human territories. They need to know what economic leverage points to target. They need to understand human market vulnerabilities." Rex Tandem exchanged a glance with Yenisal. "Council member, I must be honest with you. After 17 cycles of study, I cannot tell you what humans will do in any given economic situation. That is unacceptable. You are the finest analyst we have ever produced. And humans are the finest contradiction we have ever encountered." Drex Vaughn's antennae twitched with frustration. "Give me specifics. Give me something the council can use." Rex Tandem took a deep breath and pulled up a series of case studies. 3 cycles ago, human agricultural output exceeded demand by 40%. Standard economic response would be price collapse, producer bankruptcy, and market correction. Instead, humans paid their farmers not to produce anything. They destroyed surplus product to maintain artificial price floors. They created something called agricultural subsidies that simultaneously rewarded production and non-production. To what purpose? They claim it is to protect food security and rural community stability. But council member, they have the technology to produce synthetic nutrition at a fraction of the cost. The agricultural sector they are protecting produces less than 2% of their total economic output. They spend more protecting it than it generates. Drex Vaughn looked like he wanted to sit down, but refused to show weakness. "Continue." Yenisal took over. "Human luxury goods markets operate on inverse logic. When prices increase, demand increases. When products become harder to obtain, their value rises beyond any rational utility measure. They have items called designer goods that are functionally identical to standard products but cost 50 times more because of a symbol printed on them. What is the symbol? Religious significance? Clan marking? It is a corporate logo. It represents nothing except the company that made the product. And they pay 50 times the rational price for this? Sometimes 100 times. And they wait in lines for hours to do so." Rex Tandem pulled up another file. "It gets worse. Human financial institutions regularly package debt instruments together, divide them into smaller pieces, sell those pieces to other institutions, who package them with other debt instruments, divide those into smaller pieces, and sell them again. By the time this process completes, no one knows what the original underlying asset was or what it was worth. That sounds like a Ponzi structure. We outlawed those after the Vellani collapse. Humans are aware of Ponzi structures. They arrest individuals who create them, but they allow their largest financial institutions to create nearly identical mechanisms as long as they call them different names." Drex Vaughn was now visibly pale, his ceremonial markings dimming. How has their civilization survived? "We do not know," Rex Tandem admitted. "By every model we have, human economies should collapse approximately every 15 cycles. And they do collapse, repeatedly, sometimes spectacularly. But then they rebuild, often stronger than before, using the same flawed systems that caused the previous collapse. That is insane. We believe the technical human term is too big to fail." Yenisal pulled up a final display. "Council member, I want to show you something." This is a chart of human economic growth over the past 300 of their years. Note the crashes here, and here. Each one should have been civilization ending by our metrics. And yet, the overall trajectory remains upward. How? Humans have a concept they call creative destruction. They believe that their system needs to periodically destroy itself in order to evolve. They build their instability into their economic philosophy intentionally. Drex von sat down heavily. What do they call this system? Capitalism, or sometimes free markets. Though the markets are not free by any rational definition, and the capital flows in ways that no logical being would describe as capitalistic, is there a consistent theory? A rule set we can model? Rex Tanum hesitated. This was the moment he had been dreading. Council member, there is one pattern we have identified, but I warn you, it will not help with negotiations. Tell me, humans do not make economic decisions based on logic or self-interest. They make decisions based on stories. If they believe a story about an asset, they will buy it regardless of fundamental value. If they believe a story about scarcity, they will hoard. If they believe a story about opportunity, they will invest everything they have in ventures that have zero probability of success. Stories, narratives, myths, shared fictions that they treat as real. Their entire economic system is built on collective belief in things that do not objectively exist. Currency only works because they all agree it works. Stock values only exist because they all agree to check the same numbers every morning. Their system is held together by imagination. Drex von was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was small. You are telling me that the newest member species of the Galactic Trade Consortium operates on an economic system powered by shared delusion? Yes, and this system has made them one of the fastest growing economies in the known galaxy? Also yes, and there is no way to predict their behavior because their behavior is based on whatever story they are currently telling themselves. Correct. The council member stood slowly. He looked older than when he had entered. What do you recommend we tell the Trade Council? Rex Tanum had thought about this question for 17 cycles. He had prepared hundreds of answers, each more sophisticated than the last. But in the end, only one felt honest. Tell them to trade with humans cautiously. Never bet against them because they do not know when they are supposed to lose. Never try to manipulate their markets because they manipulate themselves in ways we cannot predict. And never, ever assume they will behave rationally because they have built the most successful irrational system in galactic history. That is not very helpful. Neither are humans, council member. Neither are humans. Drex von left without another word. Rex Tanum and Yenasol sat in silence, watching the endless stream of contradictory data. Somewhere in human space, millions of beings were making economic decisions based on gut feelings, social pressure, fear, hope, greed, and stories they had read on primitive information networks. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. Rex Tanum poured himself another drink and began composing his resignation letter. He would recommend that the consortium stop trying to analyze human economics and simply accept it as an unexplainable phenomenon, like dark matter or the mating habits of crystalline entities. Some things in the universe were simply not meant to be understood. Humans, he had finally concluded, were one of them.